Joe, good to see you doing. Evening. How you been? Pablo, good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? Mike, good to see you, well, brother. How you doing? Good day. How you been? Hello, Miles. Any news on the case after the SEC meeting? So far, very silent from the SEC. But we do know that for a fact there are some good news coming out. I mean, especially with the whole Trump signing today. Trump signing essentially the EO for America to essentially become the capital of cryptocurrencies. It's an indication that any department out there that is still anti-crypto any sort of a way, they have to speed things up and also stop being anti-crypto. So we know for a fact the SEC is going to be dismissing or settling this case as of now. It couldn't be more clear. Hi, Miles of CMF. Sam, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Comatose, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Thank God Trump won. Let's go, G. Sam, let's go. Good evening, Miles. Artistic, good to see you. How you doing? How you been, Artistic? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Free and forever, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? G, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hi, Miles and CMF. Dennis, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Even Miles and CMF peeps. Semper, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hi, Miles and everyone. Hope everyone's good. One love, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hello, Miles and CMF. Orphan, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? In Miles we trust. I need a cap saying this. In Miles we trust. I need a cap saying this. No problem. I'm on it. Hello, Miles. Scott, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Let me take a picture of that from the comment section. And when the time comes for the CMF merch, I'll make that cap happen. I've just taken a screenshot of you saying that, Sam. I'll take care of it once we do release the CMF clothing. Hello, Miles. Good to see you, Scott. How you doing, brother? How you been? Evening, Miles and CMF. Manny, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hey, Miles and everyone. Good evening from my side. Let's go, John. How you doing? How you been? Morning, Miles and CMF. Shelly, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Scott, how you doing? Good evening, Miles and all CMF. Lots happening today. Yeah, there's a lot happening today, to be fairly honest. Hello, Miles. Richard, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hey, Miles, do you have any idea on XCN? I don't, I'll be honest, because I don't know what their recent developments are for XCN. I need to look into their new contracts and new licensings and see if they're going to do well on the regulations and so on. So what you can do, John, on YouTube, leave a comment outside the live, on this live, and then I'll just, reply back to your comments. I'll take a link to reply back to your comment. Morning, Miles and CMF. Please say something about XRP concerning Trump's decision of CBDCs. Yeah, so Trump essentially signing essentially prohibiting CBDCs inside the United States is what was one of their essentially bullet points and what he signed. Nobody can stop CBDCs, and even if it does prohibit CBDCs, the word CBDCs can be changed into something else. And the mechanisms can also be changed as well, and then it can still be implemented. So again, nobody's going to be able to stop CBDCs, but XRP will still be playing a role of a medium of payments, even if CBDCs don't exist. But in reality, CBDCs are going to exist because 98% of centralized banks are already in CBDCs, so it's not really optional. So it just comes back to what I said yesterday, where they just changed the name and essentially released it in a different form. CBDC in Brazil is called Drex, and essentially in Bahrain or the Middle East, they're just going to call it money. And so on. So they'll just change the name around. So don't worry. Look, honestly, nobody's going to be able to stop the idea of CBDCs. Hello, Miles and CMF. Carol, good to see you. How you doing? I'm fully aware of what Trump has signed, and it's amazing that Trump has signed this. Hello, Miles and CMF. Carol, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? As I said previously, thank God Trump won. I've been saying this for a while. Thank God Trump won. Hello, Miles and CMF. Carol, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Bull XRP, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Is it true Trump banned CBDCs for the next 4 years? Yes, but the concept of CBDC is not technically banned. It's what it represents now. a new name and something else, it's still a CBDC. The subject of private stablecoins, in other words. Hi, brother. Camel, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles. And how are you doing? I'm doing great, Kelly. Good to see you as well. So, let me just say this. Miles, what you saying, if 150,000 XDC is a good amount, I'll try to get us started. That's a great amount. Now, before we start into the news, I just want to say to everyone watching this right now. Sir Miles, how you doing, Crypto Cowboy? Does Trump know he can't stop CBDCs? No, I'll be fairly honest. Now, before we start this live off, I just want to say to everyone watching right now, welcome to the CMF Live. It stands for Crypto Miles Family. My name is Miles. I go by the persona of Crypto Miles, and I'm the host of the CMF Live, Monday to Friday, 11:25 p.m. UK time. And on this live, I talk about the most recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrency, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations, vital information for you to know about regarding the world completely transforming into a digital space. And also, we do Q&As on this live as well, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. And the disclaimer of this live, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. So if you're watching this for the first time ever, welcome to the CMF Live. And if you're a regular, let's go CMF. I just want to take a second to say thank you so much to everyone who's liking this live right now. I'm getting notifications right now from X. Thanks so much to everyone who's liking this live right now, who's commenting outside of the live. You know, essentially, if you want to comment, hashtag XRP Army inside the comment section outside of this live on the post on X. If you haven't already done it, CMF members, please go and do it. Retweet, like, comment, and share. And also, for everyone that's watching on YouTube, like the live as well, and also comment as well. Now, let me do a breakdown of what we're going to be covering on tonight's live. We're going to be talking about, obviously, the US presidential order that was just signed by Donald Trump tonight. We're also going to be talking about tonight's live regarding the idea of a US Bitcoin, essentially, reserve or a crypto reserve. We're also going to be talking about tonight's live regarding the matters of Mike Novoscott, essentially coming out and talking about billionaire Mike Novoscott, who's also the founder and a CEO of a blockchain company, talking about the idea of AI inside the United States. We're also going to be talking about tonight's live regarding the matters of BlackRock. BlackRock's CEO has came out and essentially said to the SEC that they need to rapidly approve any sort of tokenizations, bonds, and stocks related to crypto assets from now on. We're also going to be talking about tonight's live regarding the matters of essentially the president of the United States that will be essentially will be talking about how to adapt crypto soon, talking to the president of El Salvador. Apparently, Donald Trump is going to be having a phone call or a sit down with the president of El Salvador regarding the matters of cryptocurrencies. And El Salvador is pretty much leading the way in Latin American countries alongside Brazil and so on. We're also going to be talking about the US Senate on tonight's live as well. The US Senate is proposing a bill to invest public employees' retirement funds into spot Bitcoin ETFs or in ETFs in general. There's a perspective coming in from a US Senate. We're also going to be talking about tonight's live regarding the matters of the new digital age at the SEC. In terms of the 6 immediate steps that the SEC can take to regulate the crypto space. Now, yesterday on this live, I revealed that the SEC is having a closed-door meeting, and I also went through the bullet point factors of what they're essentially going to be discussing behind closed doors, according to essentially sources around them. And we're going to be going through the 6 immediate steps that essentially the SEC has to take to regulate the entire crypto space, so you have a better idea of what needs to be ticked off the list by the SEC for a full green light by the SEC. We're also going to be talking about tonight's live regarding the matters of the leading, essentially, XRP wallet, Zaman wallet, essentially, has came out with their numbers on what's happening on the XRP ledger, and it's incredible on what's happening on the XRP ledger. But once we get to the news, I'll reveal what I mean. We're also going to be talking about a perspective coming in from Ripple's CEO on tonight's live, but that's towards the end, on the subject of a crypto reserve for the United States, not a Bitcoin reserve. A perspective coming in from Ripple's CEO, Brad. But before we go through any of those news topics, and the first one we are going to be going through is related to, obviously, the biggest news of today, well, one of the biggest news of today, definitely, is Trump signing that executive order to make the United States the capital of cryptocurrencies. That in itself is incredible. Very, very soon, the crypto markets are slowly going to move. And once they get moving, the only thing that will bring them down is any sort of geopolitical tensions. Because other than that, the markets are not going to be slowing down. But the only reason is the markets haven't reacted the way they're supposed to. You know, Trump signing an executive order, America becoming capital of cryptocurrencies. Where's the excitement? Well, it's because we're still waiting for the regulations from the SEC and CFTC, which they're not that far off. The SEC has created a crypto task force with Hester Pierce in charge, and she is working essentially alongside Mark from the SEC as the current acting commissioner of the SEC. They're trying to work on the rules and regulations. What we do know for a fact now is that America is going to become the capital of cryptocurrencies. That's a done deal. What we're waiting for next is the SEC. We're waiting for the SEC's regulations from their new crypto task force, which essentially was approved by Donald Trump. So that's what we're waiting for next to give that full green light of let's go. Because we don't have the regulations yet, and there are still pending cases going on. So, but we know for a fact the SEC is pro-crypto now. Trump has signed America to become capital of cryptocurrencies. Everything's positive. And we know for a fact whatever the regulations that do come out of the SEC now, and regarding dismissal and settlements of cases, is all going to be positive. But we just need that green light from the SEC and the CFTC, because the CFTC is also working on regulations for the crypto space, and so is the FDIC. But before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section first. Then we go straight into the first news, and then we go comments, news, and back and forth. And as I said, this is live, which means if you do have any questions, put it outside the comment section. More than happy to answer any questions you may have. Now, let's see where we're inside the comment section, and then we go straight to the first news. Will this affect XRP? No. So regarding Trump essentially signing the ban or prohibiting prohibiting CBDCs, does this mean that CBDCs will be fully banned inside the United States? Yes and no. What it actually means is the current idea of a CBDC will be banned, but anything relatable to CBDCs in terms of a different name or a different slightly mechanism is not really banned inside the United States. Nobody can stop CBDCs, not even the United States. It's bigger than that. Good evening, Brother Miles. It's because we'll talk about the Bank of International Settlements, the International Monetary Fund, the World Economic Forum, and a much more higher profile people above them also. Good evening, Brother Miles. Thank you, brother. Good to see you. Well, how you doing? How you been? But even without the idea of a CBDC still being in use, XRP will still be playing a role of medium of payments. If anybody wants to transfer essentially dollars to another country, XRP will still be used as medium of payments, even with or without a CBDC. It can still be used. Miles, it's only a matter of time now. Pretty much, yes, correct. Happy Pisces, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? How's things? If you had to say, as a percentage, how likely is it for XRP to be used as a part of a street reserve? Thank you. Great question. How likely do I think XRP is going to be used as a reserve for the United States? Extremely likely, I'll be honest with you. In terms of percentage, I think what I'm sitting at is 100%. It's going to be used. XRP is going to be used as a reserve for the United States. Now, there are two ways it could go about. It could start off as a Bitcoin reserve and then expand into a crypto reserve for the United States, or it could just start off as a crypto reserve with XRP included. It could go either way. That's the outcomes I'm laying down on the table. The outcomes that I'm laying down on the table is it comes out either outcome number one as just a crypto reserve, or outcome number two, it just comes out as a Bitcoin reserve and then slowly turns into a crypto reserve. So either way, XRP is going to be in American reserves. Now, the Bitcoin Maxis will obviously not like that, but it's the truth. Let me just say one thing as well. I always have the last laugh. Everybody knows this. So it's going to happen. XRP reserve, in my opinion, is 100% going to happen. Either way, it's going to happen. XRP, hold tight, fasten your seatbelts as we are about to take off. Let's go, funky brother. And also on the other subject is, well, because XRP is an American company, technically. Ripple's an American company, so is XRP, then that matter. So XRP being an American company, Trump being in favor of American company, now being in favor of blockchain, you can see where this is headed towards. The good thing is when we do get essentially a crypto reserve in the United States, Ethereum won't be a part of it. Miles, someone says 60,000 XRP is 2% of holdings. Even the Miles and family, Ian, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, brother Miles and CMF free XRP. Good to see you. How you doing? How you been, brother? Miles, what can I do with 1,000 XRP? Is this enough for being rich, or is enough goof? Is this not good? It's a great amount, 1,000 XRP. It's amazing how the United States has done a 360-degree turn. They were never going to sit back. Facts. Honestly, the US went from, not being interested in cryptocurrencies and whatsoever to going to essentially the idea of, we want to become the capital of cryptocurrencies. It is absolutely incredible on what Trump has achieved just in a few days. You see, America had high crimes and has high prices, high inflation, was the worst place for cryptocurrency innovations. And under a Trump presidency, just within a few days, he's already fixing the high crime situation. And he's already fixed essentially the idea of, America become the capital of cryptocurrencies. The only thing that's left is him for to essentially decrease inflation, which he said he's going to be doing with a number of rate cuts, which is something that Jerome Powell said it's not going to happen. Jerome Powell came out essentially on his previous Fed meeting and said, rate cuts? No, we're not expecting rate cuts this year at all. Maybe one, not even one. But according to Trump and other people around him, we're going to be expecting multiple rate cuts this year, because that is the only way they're going to be reducing this inflation situation. Because if we don't do rate cuts, that bubble is just going to get bigger and bigger. However, if we do drastic rate cuts, then that bubble will burst. So it depends on how far we take it with those rate cuts to actually slow down inflation instead of bursting that bubble or making it bigger. So Miles, do you have, let's see where we were. How's it going, Miles? It's going great, Zach. Good to see you. So how you doing? So Miles, do you have an exit plan for this bull run on XRP? Yes, my exit plan is to hold on to my XRP and never sell it for an eternity, and only borrow against it, use as collateral, and skip on tax. It's the only way I see essentially viable for XRP. XRP for me, as I've always said since day one, I've always been saying, and I've never changed my opinion about XRP. Since day one, I've always had the same essentially opinion on XRP, which is I'm never, ever going to be selling my XRP. I've said this since day one. People know this about me. I am never, ever going to be selling my XRP. Now, this isn't something that's recommended for everybody else in any sort of a way. It's not financial advice at all. For me, I'm never, ever going to be selling my XRP because I know what the potential of XRP is. And it's only going to be an asset that I always borrow against and use as collateral, essentially, and use the collateral money, use as collateral, and use the debt essentially to not get taxed. I'm never going to be selling my XRP in any sort of way. Just borrow against it, use as collateral, and use that money for the best ROI, pay back that loan. That's pretty much it. And hold on to my XRP for eternity. But if you do want to take out profits on your XRP, you want to take out profits on any other asset that you may hold, profits is never a bad idea. But I've always said, and I will always stand by it, people know this about me, I am never, ever selling my XRP. But you can if you want to, because if you want to take out profits, why not? Taking out profits is never a bad idea. I'm personally not going to be doing that. I'm never selling my XRP or XLM or XDC and HPROM on the verge, but we'll see as time goes by. Everything else is up for sale. Wow, thank you, Miles. No problem. Anytime, Sam, Shelley, no problem. Anytime. Yeehaw, I concur, Sir Miles. Let's go. Thanks, brother Solomon. No problem. Easy, Mr. Miles. Let's go, Jack. Miles, my friend Tim wants to say he has 200,000 XDC. What price can this amount reach? But honestly, I think he's like, whatever you think. Essentially, it can reach a high amount of figure as long as he holds on to it and essentially gets to that level to borrow against it. Again, not financial advice in any sort of a way. Miles, I asked you over a week ago that I have 20,000 sitting on USDC. I'm sitting on USDC. So is it a good time to buy in now? What should I buy? Yes, definitely a good time to buy now before the SEC comes up with their regulations. Because the only thing that we're waiting for essentially next, the only thing we're waiting for next is the regulations from the SEC now. Because we have the green light from Mr. Donald Trump, the President of the United States. We have the green light from Trump because he signed it, an executive order for America to become the capital of cryptocurrencies. That's a green light. Green light number one. Green light number two is the SEC essentially coming out with the regulations and dropping and dismissing and settling all of those essentially cases, the legitimate crypto cases. So that's what we're waiting for. So as long as we're waiting for the regulation part to kick in from the SEC or the CFTC, yeah, definitely it's the best time to look into the market space to start buying things up. Obviously, you want to be aiming for essentially, your 20,000. Not financial advice in any sort of way. Personal preference for me. If I had 20,000 sitting in USDC, I would put that 20,000, the majority of it, into XRP, and then XLM, then XDC, and essentially HBAR. That's how I essentially would do it. I would be only aiming for projects that are going to do extremely well on the regulations, pretty much, especially projects inside the financial sector. And these projects all have licenses to operate as well, which is the beauty of it. Do you think there'll be, will XRP go lower after bull run or just go higher? Well, the more XRP gets essentially adopted into the financial system, then the higher it's going to be going. The more it's going to be working 24/7 on payments around the world in terms of domestic or international purposes, the higher it should be going. Beef Bro John, yes, facts, John, let's go. The sit down, obviously, Brad and essentially the CLO of Ripple had with Donald Trump, and the secret message, Beef Bro John, which is basically used as a keyword back in the day as for, making the deal happen, signing the deal, which is also the behinding of we're going to be having an XRP reserve in the United States. We're going to be having a crypto reserve, to be more fairly honest, not just a Bitcoin reserve. The two outcomes are on the table. It's either going to be a Bitcoin reserve that slowly turns into a crypto reserve, or a crypto reserve off the bat. What's your take on the future price of XDC? Some say because of the 3 quadrillion price experts expect to be 30,000. XDC has essentially incredible value in terms of being in the financial category. I mean, R3 Corridor essentially using XDC for the longest time. Incredible project. In my opinion, XDC the sky's the limit on the regulations for it. The more it gets adopted into the financial system and has the correct licensing as well, the more the regulations play out, the more the adoption happens. The sky's the limit for XDC. Same scenario goes for XRP, XLM as well. Now, hello, Miles and CMF. Lena, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Will ACH, I think I missed one question. Yeah. The moon is just a pit stop. Trump says we're going to Mars. He did say that, yeah. Will ACH enter top 100 crypto by market cap in 2025, in your opinion, since it's not even in the top 300 currently? Yes, it should do slowly move up, because it is essentially in the financial category. It has the correct licensing, it has multiple partnerships. But what you want to do is what I did as well. I readjusted my essentially crypto wallets, and I put the majority of my ACH in, and I spread it around in XRP, XLM, and XDC. So, that's what I did. I'm just telling you what I did, not financial advice in any sort of a way. But I took the majority of my ACH and I spread it around in XRP, XLM, and XDC. Not financial advice. But that's what I did. I still hold on to ACH, but the majority of it is spread into XRP, XLM, XDC. Hello, Miles and CMF. Good to see you as well, Lena. How you doing? How you been? My only worry is ACH is not really an American company, which is why I spread the majority of my ACH into American company crypto projects like XRP and so on, because ACH is not American. That's the only worry about it. Miles, I already have big bags of XRP, XLM, XDC, and HBAR. Let's go, funky brother. But you might want to add more to them. Why not? You can never have enough XRP or XLM or XDC or HBAR. XDC is a sleeper, just like buying XRP at 11 cents. Facts. Let's go, Lena. How you doing? How you been? But yeah, funky brother, you can never have enough XRP, XLM, XDC, or HBAR. XDC is a great token. I agree 100%. Miles, heaven forbidden for all their crazies out there. If anything ever happened to Trump, is Vance pro-crypto? Yes, JD Vance is also pro-crypto if anything ever does happen like that. Good evening, Miles, and all in the CMF. I hope everyone is great. Addy, good to see you. So how you doing? How you been, brother? Yeah, Miles, thank God, sir. Let's go. Thank you, God, sir. Thank you, good, sir. Let's go, Crypto Cowboy. Will XDC pump higher percentage to do SOP for XRP and get good amounts of tokens compared to now as low as XRP? It's a possibility, yes, it definitely can. Hi, Miles. Used to watch the lives 2 years ago on TikTok. Good to see you here again. Ali, good to see you as well. How you doing, brother? How you been? Used to watch me on TikTok. Let's go. How you doing? Yeah, I've been doing the lives on YouTube and X now for over a year and a half. And we're on episode 248 of the CMF Live. At the beginning, we weren't counting the episodes, but obviously now we are. But good to see you, brother. How you been? Now, so US presidential essentially order shakeup of the biggest news about today was, without a doubt, President Trump signing that presidential order for the United States to become the capital of cryptocurrencies, which is something that was always talked about. You know, the people around Trump's administration, they're going to be doing this, they're going to be doing this, and they finally did it. So here it is. The United States government has taken a significant step forward in the regulation and oversight of digital finance by signing essentially a new executive order focused on the digital assets. This order essentially establishes the Presidential Working Group on Digital Asset Markets, aimed at reinforcing the U.S. leadership role in the global digital finance sector. Chaired by the White House, AI essentially, and crypto Caesar David Sachs, the working group includes high-profile figures such as the Secretary of Treasury and the Chairman of Securities and Exchange Commission, among leaders essentially of other essentially federal departments and agencies. This team is tasked with crafting a comprehensive federal regulatory framework that will cover various digital assets, including stablecoins. Additionally, the group will evaluate the potential creation of the National Street Bitcoin Reserve, of digital assets. Now, what Trump signed today wasn't about a Bitcoin reserve. It was the words of a essentially National Street Reserve of digital assets. What Trump signed did not say Bitcoin reserve. It technically said reserve of digital assets. The executive order marks a change from previous policies by revoking the prior administration's directives that occurred to current officials, hindering the innovations and weakening the U.S. position in digital finance. Obviously, talking about the previous Joe Biden's administration of circus freaks, hindering American everything, and innovation and everything else, to be fairly honest. But it removes earlier restrictions that suppressed essentially the development of digital assets and prohibited promotional activities related to central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. Furthermore, the new directive encourages active essentially consultations with leading digital finance experts outside of the federal government to ensure that the working group's actions are well informed and encompass a broad spectrum of insights. This approach aims to foster an environment where regulatory measures support innovation while maintaining essentially the standards for security and stability in digital markets. The executive order establishes the essentially Presidential Working Group on Digital Asset Market Spaces to enhance U.S. dominance in digital finance. This working group is a mandate to essentially craft a federal regulatory framework for digital assets, including stablecoins, and to consider the establishment of a strict national digital asset reserve. The group, led by the White House and AI crypto Caesar David Sachs, including the Secretary of Treasury, the Chairman of Securities and Exchange Commission, and the leaders of other federal agencies coming together, is, first of all, an amazing sign, because the SEC, now, Trump signing this executive order, the SEC has no choice but to be positive, even though they are positive, to be fairly honest, which also means that all of these Ripple and Coinbase and essentially crypto.com and so on, these cases have to be dismissed or settled now. The executive order instructs federal departments and agencies to review and suggest modifications or repels of regulations and actions impacting digital asset sector. It explicitly forbids any efforts by agencies to develop, issue, or promote central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. Furthermore, this order nullifies the prior administration's directives concerning such digital assets, which are said to have stifled innovation and compromised U.S. economic freedom and its leadership role in the global digital finance arena. Departments and agencies are also instructed to identify and recommend any existing regulations or actions impacting the digital asset sector that may need revision or repealing. So, based on all of that, essentially Trump signs his executive order and so on and so on, what we could be expecting now is, one, the SEC under the new acting chairman, Mark and Hester Pierce, is being controlled the crypto task force. It means that they have no choice but to bring out regulations extremely fast, but also to bring out regulation and also to dismiss and settle all of their cases that are not related to fraud, for example. Obviously, if the SEC has a genuine case inside the crypto space that is, allocated to fraud and, essentially so on, then yes, that makes sense for that case to continue. But cases like Coinbase or cases like Ripple or cases like, essentially crypto.com and Kraken and MetaMask and so on, all these cases will be dismissed and settled under this new executive order. And yesterday we had essentially the not yesterday technically, today we had the sit down of behind closed doors from the SEC, where Hester Pierce, the head of the crypto task force created by the SEC under Trump's administration, and Mark, essentially the acting chairman, having a closed door meeting in the SEC, talking and discussing matters that are very important for the crypto space. Ironically, today is also the same day that what happens? Trump signs an executive order. The same day, today, where the SEC is having a closed door meeting talking about everything the SEC did wrong and how the SEC needs to have regulations and how these cases with the SEC need to stop, is the exact same day today that they're having a closed door meeting where Trump signs an executive order for everything to move forward. Coincidence or coordinated? Now, we're also going to be talking about, on tonight's live, regarding the US strict Bitcoin reserve. Because there's the topic of, is it going to be a Bitcoin reserve from the United States, or is it going to be a crypto reserve? Now, the Bitcoin Maxis obviously want this to be a Bitcoin reserve for the United States. But then the rest of the crypto space wants a crypto reserve. So where do we stand? Is it a Bitcoin reserve or is it a crypto reserve? Now, we do have multiple perspectives to go through on this matter. And one of them that came through is from Binance. Well, Binance's founder and former essentially CEO, CZ. So here it is. Binance's founder, CZ, remarked, US strict Bitcoin reserve pretty much confirmed after Trump signing that executive order. Crypto moving at a crypto speed again, he said. And this statement, which essentially was a reaction to Senator Cynthia Luminous's post on the need for legal frameworks for digital assets that strengthens the US dollar with a strict Bitcoin reserve, has initiated discussions about the United States potentially establishing a essentially strict Bitcoin reserve, a concept that has essentially been gaining traction in political and financial circles. Now, again, what Trump has signed doesn't state technically a Bitcoin reserve. What Trump has signed in that executive order technically states a crypto essentially reserve. It states a digital asset reserve, not a Bitcoin reserve. So it can technically still be a crypto reserve, not just a Bitcoin one. Now, the idea of a strict Bitcoin reserve was essentially prominently introduced by Senator Cynthia Luminoous, who proposed that the US government should accumulate 1 million Bitcoins over 5 years. The initiative aims to strengthen the US dollar and bolster national economies by leveraging Bitcoin's appreciating value. The proposal has found support among key political figures. President Donald Trump, during his campaign, advocated for the US to halt the sale of seized Bitcoins and instead retain it as a part of the national reserve. He emphasized essentially establishing the US as a crypto capital, promising industry-friendly regulations and the creation of a crypto advisory council. Additionally, Senator Cynthia Luminoous has been appointed to lead the new Senate Banking Subcommittee on Digital Assets, which is absolutely incredible because who's also on that board is Senator Elizabeth Warren. Senator Elizabeth Warren is a bit of a, if you know about Senator Elizabeth Warren, she was a part of Operation Choke Point 2.0 with the FDIC chairman and SEC Gary Gensler, which obviously SEC Gary Gensler is gone, and so is the FDIC chairman, and only she's left, Senator Elizabeth Warren. But having essentially Senator Cynthia Luminoous in charge of the Senate Banking Committee, subcommittee on digital assets as the chair is incredible, because it also her voice will now overshadow essentially Senator Elizabeth Warren's voice, which is incredible as well. Now, this move aims to align with her earlier proposals for a strict Bitcoin reserve, reflecting a concentrated effort to integrate digital assets into a national financial strategy. Financial industries leaders have also weighed in on the concept. Matthew, for example, the head of digital assets research at Van Eck, predicts that the United States might establish a Bitcoin reserve without requiring congressional approval. He also suggests that an executive action could essentially reclassify the approximately 200,000 Bitcoins already owned by the US government seized from various operations as a part of its reserve. Moreover, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink has advocated for the Securities and Exchange Commission also to essentially, have a weigh in on this matter. And the establishment of a US essentially strict Bitcoin reserve carries significant implications, including, for example, having a Bitcoin reserve. Just picturing the hypothetical season of having a Bitcoin reserve. So what does that essentially entitle the US to? Well, market dynamics. Government accumulation of Bitcoin could drive demand, potentially increasing its price. As of essentially report time, Bitcoin is trading at around $102,794, reflecting above 13.5% raise this year. A global adoption will also be happening. US leadership in essentially adopting a Bitcoin reserve may prompt essentially other nations to consider similar strategies, leading to a more widespread acceptance of cryptocurrencies. CZ has also suggested that such a move could trigger a global race among nations to establish their own Bitcoin reserves. Regulatory frameworks, formal recognition of Bitcoin in national reserves would essentially necessitate the development of clear regulatory guidelines, providing a more stable environment for investors and institutions. Economic strategy, holding Bitcoin could serve as a hedge against inflation and currency devaluation, offering a modern tool for economic resilience. The discussion surrounding a US-strict Bitcoin reserve highlights the essentially evolving relationship between digital assets and the national economic policies. As the US government essentially and financial institutions explore this avenue, the crypto industry stands on the cusp of significant transformation and potentially redefining traditional financial paradigms. Germany, for example's largest bank, Deutsche Bank, announced today that it has much expectations for 2025 for Bitcoin and crypto assets as well. The Deutsche Bank, essentially in Germany, said in a recent report that the bullish outlook for Bitcoin continues in 2025 and cryptocurrencies in general, stating that BTC's price is expected to remain high in 2024. Deutsche Bank's analyst stated that there is more positive regulatory movements coming ahead, and political environments inside the US are increasing institutional adoption, and looser Fed monetary policies will support the rise in BTC. And the German bank also stated that a clarity on essentially the creation of a strict Bitcoin reserve in the US will become clear in the first quarter. Deutsche Bank's analyst also essentially weighed in more on this matter. For example, marine liberals said that Trump administration support for cryptocurrencies is crucial for the continuation of a current bull run in this market space. This is Deutsche Bank coming out. The largest bank essentially in Germany, coming out essentially and stating that Trump being pro-crypto, Trump signing this executive order. What's coming ahead for us essentially is the entire crypto space is going to be going on a one massive bull run. This is essentially opinion from Deutsche Bank. I mean, it's incredible. The largest bank in Germany. Trump's support for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is key to essentially this continued golden age. And while no crypto executive orders were signed essentially on the first day of the Trump administration, however, obviously today Trump did sign it. The SEC's move to create a regulatory framework for digital assets is being considered a very positive step. And the appointee of Paul Atkins as the SEC chairman further signals a shift towards an innovation-friendly approach. Look, every steps that I've just read out for you, this whole idea of a global, so if we do have a Bitcoin reserve, just for example, imagine we do have a Bitcoin reserve, market dynamics, government accumulation of Bitcoin will drive prices higher, global adoption, if we have a Bitcoin reserve, the world will follow America's footsteps, and essentially regulatory frameworks that help essentially propel the crypto space even further, and so on and so on. Now, picture this step by step as a crypto reserve instead for the United States, which will then we have to consider market dynamics, essentially government accumulation of essentially a crypto reserve, for example, Bitcoin, XRP, Cardano, and HBAR, and so on, all these American blockchain companies. Then that will make the rest of the world markets follow America's footsteps and create also a crypto reserve, which means everybody will slowly move away from the idea of just a Bitcoin reserve, and every country will follow obviously America's footsteps and create a crypto reserve. So the same methods that we're applying to the step-by-step of what could possibly happen, if we have a Bitcoin reserve, we can apply those same steps to a crypto reserve, and you can get the bigger picture pretty much. Everybody will just follow America's footsteps. Just to put in the perspective of, some people might think to themselves, well, everybody probably won't follow America's footsteps. If you're thinking to yourself that for a second, if anybody around you is thinking that, essentially not everybody's going to follow Trump's footsteps into the crypto space, well, let me just put this into perspective. And this is not even relatable to crypto. Just to give you an indication of how much the world leaders want to follow Trump's footsteps and want to have a conversation with Trump. They want to have a sit down with Trump. Just to give you an indication, South Korea's essentially leader decided to learn how to play golf the moment Trump won the presidency. South Korea's leader decided to learn how to play golf so he can have something in common to talk about when he has a sit down with Trump. When have you ever seen in your entire lifetimes a leader of a country take up a sport just so he can have a conversation from another presidency of another country. This is just an indication of how much following there is going to be. When America goes towards this idea of a crypto reserve, every country will follow their footsteps. There won't be any country that will say, no, we don't want to follow America's footsteps. We want to sit on the sidelines and see what happens. It's America. There's no sitting on the sidelines. When America takes steps, everybody follows. That's just how the rules are. And I give you one simple indication that wasn't related to crypto, but it just shows you how much these world leaders are sticking their ass. They're essentially sticking their head up Trump's ass. Because a leader of a country taking up golf lessons just so you can have a conversation with Trump is crazy. And if there are people out there that assume to themselves, not everybody's going to follow, Trump's footsteps or America's footsteps. There are people learning how to play golf just to have a 5-minute conversation with this man. What makes you think they won't be following his footsteps into the crypto space? So, and also, what Trump has signed isn't just a Bitcoin reserve. It's what Trump has signed is essentially a reserve for digital assets. So the topic of a crypto reserve is still on essentially on the open. The topic of a crypto reserve is still open. It's not Bitcoin reserve, it's a crypto reserve. Now, I did say there's two outcomes. It can be a Bitcoin reserve that turns into a crypto reserve, or it's just going to be starting off with a crypto reserve. But he didn't sign a Bitcoin reserve. He signed, and his essentially executive order, Trump signed a digital asset reserve. He could have mentioned Bitcoin, but he didn't. He said digital asset reserve. Now, putting that to one side, essentially, I'm talking about AI just for a second, and then we'll go back to essentially, Trump presidency and cryptocurrencies and all this positivity. Just talk about essentially AI just for a second. Mike Novoscott, billionaire Mike Novoscott, and obviously we know that AI is going to become a massive space as well as we move further into this whole digital world that we're going to be living in, especially starting off this year. A lot of things are happening this year in terms of regulations and policies and banks and institutions and corporate sector and so on, financial sector, AI sector, Web3 sector, and it's going to be expanding the storm this year. Now, Mike Novoscott, billionaire, is talking about AI and how AI is also going to be playing some sort of a role. So here is his perspective today. Mike Novoscott, the CEO of Galaxy Digital, has recently said that artificial intelligence is the new arms race, following the recent launch of Stargate project. Now, if you're wondering what is Stargate project, well, Stargate project is the project that Donald Trump has launched, the $500 billion AI project that is going to be launched in the United States. The US wants to also become the capital of AI and the capital of cryptocurrencies. Obviously, they're aiming for the capital of both at the exact same time by the looks of it. The project, led by OpenAI and supported by leading companies like SoftBank, Okoro, and the UAE's essentially MGX, has attracted $100 billion investments. Essentially, a record of $500 billion to building an AI infrastructure in the United States of America is incredible. AI is the new arms race. Stargate's $500 billion for an AI infrastructure is just the start. $1 trillion will be spent on the US data centers over the next few years. The massive demand for infrastructure is driving transformation among essentially Bitcoin miners, because all these Bitcoin corporations that are mining Bitcoin 24/7, they're actually getting involved in AI because it's more profitable for them, believe it or not. The Stargate project, which has essentially been likened to the Marathon project, essentially due to the migrate of undertaking seeks to make the US the world's hub for AI, the massive funding shows the increasing focus on AI as a revolution in technology and business and the world economy. According to Mike Novoscott, this is only the first steps due to its high increase in AI investments in the future, saying that the US data center deployments and developments may reach $1 trillion in the future years. The increased demand for AI infrastructure is essentially forcing change in the cryptocurrency market space, a perspective coming in from Mike Novoscott. Mike Novoscott identified the potentials for Bitcoin mining companies to shift to AI businesses by leveraging the same physical infrastructure to reduce risk. So apparently, because the essentially Bitcoin mining corporations, all these companies like Marathon Digital and so on, that are mining Bitcoin right now in the United States, they're not really turning that much of a profit, to be fairly honest. And Mike Novoscott and other essentially other billionaires that are coming out, they're telling all these Bitcoin mining companies that are inside the United States to just go into AI, They have the capabilities, they have the servers, for example, and they can just, switch sides, go from Bitcoin mining to AI infrastructure and make a lot more money and profit a lot. Galaxy Digital essentially latest report described some advantages of shifting mining, Bitcoin mining, to AI instead. Consistent revenue, for example, because when it comes to Bitcoin mining, it's not really consistent revenue for all these Bitcoin mining corporations. But it is if they go into AI instead. De-risking and entrance to public markets. However, support AI workloads, there is a need to upgrade the current facilities to a certain extent. Some of the improvements are essentially areas of cooling and network hardware to support high-speed operations. But here's, it's an idea. It's an idea that Mike Novoscott, the billionaire blockchain founder, is coming out, Galaxy Digital, and telling all these AI, essentially telling all these Bitcoin mining corporations that are not really turning profits. Having a Bitcoin mining company is like having an Airbnb. Now, some people might think, well, that's just a crazy way of saying it, as a, using as an example, comparing AI, essentially Airbnb property to a Bitcoin mining company. But hear me out. If you have an Airbnb in a country that's seasonal, you're only going to be making money seasonal from that Airbnb property. For example, if you have a property that is in a very sunny island, you're only going to be making money from that property 6 months a year. No? Same goes with Bitcoin mining. It only makes money when it's seasonal, essentially, for these corporations. The numbers are there to prove it. It's all on paper. And multiple of these, essentially, Bitcoin mining corporations have come out. Multiple of them have come out and said it's not really profitable for them most of the times. So it's a suggestion from Mike Novoscott, not from me, but from Mike Novoscott, stating that he is a billionaire, he's incredibly intelligent, he owns a blockchain company, so he's not against blockchain by saying this. He's just telling them, you want to make a profit 24/7? Join the AI bandwagon and drop this whole Bitcoin mining. Now, I'm not saying they should do it, but it's a suggestion for Mike Novoscott. Now, but that's the example there was of an Airbnb property. Because with an Airbnb property, you're going to be making money seasonal. Same goes with Bitcoin mining. Or you can go to AI and make 24/7 because they have the data set up. They could just use that data center. Now, banks is what we're going to talk about next. So moving off Mike Novoscott and AI to banks. Banks started to become more and more Bitcoin friendly and crypto friendly now that Morgan Stanley's CEO makes cryptocurrency statement at Davos. Now, right now in Davos, they're having the massive World Economic Forum event 2025, where they had essentially, Larry Fink there and Jamie Dimon there, and essentially many other executives and bank governors and high-profile politicians and prime ministers and presidents and so on. Even Trump has done a video call. He won't be attending it, but he will be essentially doing a video call. So at the World Economic Forum event, we've had multiple news come out regarding cryptocurrencies, and it's all been positive, extremely positive. For example, essentially Larry Fink, essentially BlackRock coming out and saying essentially, he sees a future in crypto assets and Bitcoin and so on, Bitcoin reaching $700,000. Then you had essentially JP Morgan's essentially CEO coming out and saying, JP Morgan sees a future in cryptocurrencies and so on. Didn't specifically mention Bitcoin, but he said a great future and so on. And then we had a Bank of America's essentially CEO coming out and essentially stating that Bank of America is ready for financial part of blockchain to enter the banking systems, to join the crypto ecosystem of Bank of America and the rest of the banks inside the United States and so on. So we've had a lot of positivity coming out from the World Economic Forum. And the recent one we've just had today is from Morgan Stanley. So here it is. Morgan Stanley's CEO, Ted Pick, announced today that the bank is exploring ways to deepen its involvements in crypto markets and is working closely, essentially, with US regulators to navigate the landscape that has emerged under the pro-crypto Trump administration. Morgan Stanley is now getting involved as well. They're tired of sitting on the sidelines because now we're under a pro-Trump essentially administration and a pro-crypto administration, in other words. Speaking to CNBC, Andrew Ross Sorkin at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, Ted Pick, the CEO of Morgan Stanley, touched on the bank's cautious yet forward-thinking essentially approach to cryptocurrencies. The equation for us revolves around whether we can act as a professor or essentially as a professor, as a highly regulated financial institution, We will work with the Treasury and other regulators to figure out how we can deliver that safely. So Morgan Stanley obviously now wants to be involved in cryptocurrencies, but they obviously don't want to be in the safe waters rather than the volatile waters. Morgan Stanley has a history of pioneering the use of cryptocurrencies among traditional financial infrastructures and institutions, in other words. In 2021, for example, the bank became the first major US bank to offer Bitcoin funds to its wealthy clients. Last year, the bank took its commitments even further by spearheading efforts to offer BTC, essentially ETFs, in response to their growing clients' demands for crypto exposure. But under the Biden administration, banks have faced stricter restrictions and on their essentially involvements in digital assets. While trading desks can deal in Bitcoin derivatives, direct ownership of a physical BTC is prohibited. That's where the issue lies. Goldman Sachs' CEO David Solomon has echoed the same sentiment earlier this week at the World Economic Forum, noting that the regulatory essentially hurdles remain a significant major hurdle, and they're waiting for essentially the next move. And the next move is SEC regulations, which they're coming, to be fairly honest. They're coming at a rapid pace. Right now, from a regulatory standpoint, we cannot own Bitcoin, Solomon said, or any other cryptocurrency. And adding, if the world changes, we can have discussions about that, which the world is changing. Pick essentially expressed caution, optimism about Bitcoin's long-term viability despite its history of volatility trading and industry scandals. Currently trading above $100,000, Bitcoin may be approaching what he called escape volatility. Now, the broader question is whether some of this has matured, whether it has reached the escape volatility, or Pick said, time is crypto, friends. And the longer it trades, the perception becomes a reality. So the longer we go into the crypto space, this is a perspective coming in from Morgan Stanley's CEO, stating at the World Economic Forum event in 2025 today, Morgan Stanley CEO saying, time is crypto, my friend. Time is crypto. The longer it trades, the perception becomes a reality. In other words, the simplest way to put it, the more we go into crypto, the more it becomes a reality in today's world. So in other words, if you're still not inside the crypto space, you might want to start entering into it, starting with research, obviously, rather than buying anything, not financial advice in any sort of a way. But since Trump has taken this presidency role and become the president of the United States, we're getting major players coming out and starting to talk positive and how they want to get involved inside the crypto space right now. You know, BlackRock being positive on the whole Bitcoin ETF space, but now they're even more positive on everything else to do with crypto regarding tokenizations, derivatives getting essentially tokenized, and bonds and stocks and so on. And essentially JP Morgan coming out and being a lot more positive about the crypto space. Morgan Stanley coming out and being more positive about the crypto space. Goldman Sachs coming out and being more perspective, being more positive on the crypto space. A lot of these high profile CEOs that pretty much run the show are coming out and essentially stating that they're all ready. Every single one of them is ready to move forward. Bank of America CEO as well. So what we're just waiting for right now is Hester Pierce, who is in charge of the SEC, essentially crypto task force that was created overnight when Gary Gensler left, to bring in the positivity. And ironically, today is the closed door meeting, the same day that Trump has just signed this executive order. Trump signs an executive order for cryptocurrencies, which no one knew about. Well, everyone knew was going to happen, but we don't know which day, which happened today. And today is also a closed door meeting for the SEC to be talking about dismissals and settlements, which is crazy, the timing of it. But in general, the positivity is crazy. Where we're heading towards is crazy as well. You know, I've said this and I'll say it again. For everybody that's inside the crypto space, if you are in essentially the crypto space and you're in legitimate projects, you have an incredible future ahead of yourself. Every single one of you. And FleaXRP just said inside the comment section, the SAB 121 just got repealed by the SEC. That is incredible. The SEC just removed the SAB 121 essentially act. The SAB 121, do you know what it did? Gary Gensler and the FDIC chairman put this position in where the SAB 121 essentially will stifle banks in the United States to stop them from working with crypto companies. And also the retail section had difficulties buying cryptocurrencies. So if you had difficulties as a retail member to buy cryptocurrencies inside the United States, it was because of this issue. And this issue is something else. But mainly this issue was for banks not being able to hold cryptocurrencies on their balance sheets, because if they had to hold them on their balance sheets, it was going to be held as liabilities instead, which no longer is going to be liabilities. So this pretty much means green light for banks. Banks needed a green light to be able to hold cryptocurrencies. Well, now they have their green light from the SEC. That is absolutely crazy. FreeXRP, thanks so much for letting me know that right now, pretty much the SEC has just essentially removed the SAB 121. That is incredible. Now, absolutely incredible. That's the green light that banks needed. That's the green light that banks needed. But what the main green light that banks needed? Now, that's crazy. To be able to hold crypto assets. Payments is another regulation, but to be able to hold crypto assets. So now banks in the US can hold crypto assets. But those cases don't get dismissed, and the essentially regulation on essentially payments still needs to come out. But it seems like the SEC is working at a rapid pace, to be fairly honest. They're moving incredibly fast. For all this time, they've been slowing and hindering and stifling. Within a few days, executive order, banks and CEOs coming out and saying this and that about the crypto space, and now the SEC creating crypto task force has the person being in charge, and now they're removing the SAB 121. They're moving at a rapid pace right now. Now, the next news topic we are going to be talking about is BlackRock CEO. But before we talk about BlackRock CEO, let's go inside the comment section first. As I said previously, this is live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer the questions you may have. So let's go inside the comment section first, and then we go straight into the BlackRock CEO news, which is also extremely positive for the crypto space. Let's go inside the comment section first. Let's see what's going on there, and then we go straight into the next news. If there is ever, also FreeXRP, thank you so much for that as well, just for letting me know that it just happened now. If there ever has been an option to stake your XRP, would you do it? Not now, definitely not. Hi, Miles and CMF. Stormy, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Kerry, I wouldn't do that now. Back then, sure, but I would do it on exchanges. What about the law firm that just filed which is in the SEC Ripple case? Will that affect the case? No, it won't affect the case. Also, there is another lawsuit that's going on that's going to be revealing what essentially happened, SEC and Ripple wise. So the whole Hinman letter situation and how Hinman was biased towards XRP and essentially was biased, and favoring Bitcoin and Ethereum, but being very, subjective towards XRP. There's a filing for that as well. Apparently, that is also going to be revealed of the backdoor conversations with the SEC and so on, which is amazing. A guy on X with 1 million followers said he heard from a good source that it will be BTC and XRP. We shall see. But if XRP is there, oh man, oh man. Let's go, Stormy. Hi from Malaysia. Good to see you as well, Shakira. How you been? How's things? An election are coming up in Germany. Hopefully a pro-crypto party will win. Let's go, orphan. Mouse, I just brought XRP XLM HBAR with 20,000. Now, hopefully by 29th of January, we should be all in green candles. Thank God Trump won't. He will pump it. Thank God Trump won, and he will pump it. Facts. 20,000 money. Yes. By 10th of February, we should have an XRP ETF that will definitely make XRP jump. Yes, there was on the Chicago Exchange market space, it did show that XRP and Solana had an ETF ready on essentially February 10th, but the page got taken down. But these are all indications, honestly. Miles, my friend, he says that he's got 50,000 XRP, in my opinion. Hi, Miles. Great news. Just listening. Let's go, Mav. How you doing? How you been? ACH, big waste of coin. I'll be honest, my opinion, better I put HBAR, but left ACH and HBARs did dig numbers. ACH just dipping. Good morning, Miles and CMF. Ghostbunner, good to see you. How you doing? Yeah, preferably you do want to be essentially, you do want to be essentially in XRP, XLM, XDC, and HBAR rather than, if you want to move out of ACH. Ghostbunner, good morning, Miles and CMF. Good to see you, Ghostbunner. How you doing? How you been? You said this was going to happen, Miles, over a year ago or so. I did. Facts. Green lights for institutions. Let's go with the XRP. Miles, thanks for the live, because before I feel, so after your motivation, I am trying hard for futures. Let's go, employees. That's absolutely amazing. That, I'm motivating you to not do that. And I'm happy that you didn't do that either. I'm very happy. You're welcome, brother. Let's go for the XRP. Thank you. SAB121 removed. That basically means all the banks will now be buying much more cryptocurrencies. Yes, facts. Will there be a few more dips in XRP? Will there be essentially more dips in XRP? Monica, how you doing? Good to see you. Look, regarding ups and downs will always be there inside the market space. Drastic dips probably won't be there. Now, if we're going to have drastic dips, there has to be some sort of major geopolitical tensions to be some sort of drastic dips or incredible level of manipulation on some sort of level for a drastic dip. Other than that, we'll just have small dips here and there and so on until we climb higher and higher. When do you think we will hear any results from closed door meeting? When do I think we're going to be hearing some sort of news from the closed door meeting? It's just good. I think personally, regarding the closed door meeting from the SEC, we should be hearing about it hopefully tomorrow or even today or in a few days. Supply and demand scenario, pretty much. Stewart Attorney just tweeted about the executive order below. Shelley, thank you so much for that. What do you say? President Trump will help make the United States the center of digital financial technology innovation by halting aggressive enforcement actions and regulatory overreach that have stifled crypto innovation under previous administrations. That's amazing that the CLO of Ripple is also tweeting about the executive order. Yeah, for a fact, XRP is going to be involved. I said, in my opinion, 100%. I'll even take it further. 1 billion percent XRP will be in the reserves. It's either going to be outcome number 1, which is going to be a crypto reserve, or outcome number 2, Bitcoin reserve that turns into a crypto reserve. Either way, 1 billion percent XRP is in the reserve. Because if America was going to do just a Bitcoin reserve only, then in the executive order, they would have stated and a Bitcoin reserve. But they didn't state in the executive order Bitcoin reserve. They stated digital asset reserve. Now, BlackRock CEO. So, Shelly, thank you so much for that as well, for letting me know that the CLO of Ripple, Stewart, essentially tweeted that out as well. Thank you for letting me know, Shelly. Now, BlackRock. BlackRock CEO wants the SEC to rapidly approve tokenization of bonds and stocks. What it means for crypto. Larry Fink, CEO of the world's largest essentially fund manager, BlackRock, has expressed his hope that the US Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, will essentially swiftly approve the tokenization of bonds and stocks. During a CNBC interview today from the World Economic Forum event in Switzerland, Davos, Larry Fink strongly essentially endorsed digital assets, underscoring their potential to their investments. The open question is whether this shift towards tokenization of traditional assets can benefit cryptocurrencies, which sectors might flourish and which projects might face heightened competition. There is no doubt that the 24-hour worldwide trading and the transparency of blockchain technology being advantages to assets such as bonds and stocks. However, this move relies on regulatory updates and approvals from relevant government agencies. More importantly, the regulated assets may not align well with the essentially decentralized financial space. Now, tokenizing bonds that produce stable yields could pose a challenge to stablecoins by providing digital assets tied to the real-world interest rates. This development would essentially introduce new instruments into the financial markets, competing for liquidity and user confidence as investors seek tangible returns. Similarly, tokenized stocks like GameStop or essentially AMC could function as an on-chain asset with volatile price fluctuations backed by communities in the manner of essentially meme coins. Now, this evolution might affect retail trading platforms as investors gravitate towards regulated but still speculative stock tokens rather than purely speculative meme coins. The integration of tokenized bonds and stocks also broadens the offerings on established DeFi platforms, potentially driving higher total values locked. It would impact the decentralized exchanges and lending protocols as they could essentially incorporate traditional asset classes to create new revenue streams. By tokenizing real-world assets, direct ownership and pricing data can be embedded within a token's essentially native structure, reducing the need for external referrals. This shift also affects blockchain data providers as on-chain essentially assets inherently include their own data. The tokenization of bonds and stocks greatly expands the pool of assets available for on-chain derivatives, influencing decentralized exchanges and lending protocols, looking for essentially offer diverse market spaces, and synthetic tokens that mirror these securities could also bypass certain regulatory barriers, opening new opportunities for margins and tradings and yield generations. Despite these benefits, tokenized securities must navigate regulatory hurdles such as knowing your customer, KYC, mandates and accredited investor essential restrictions, and security law compliances, and region-specific rules and listings and limitations, and hamper essential accessibility, while partial essentially on-chain data coverage still requires corals. Additional legal uncertainties and potential vulnerabilities in smart contracts can erode investor trust. As a result, many DeFi protocols are focused essentially forced to impose stricter oversights, limiting the free-fall nature typically associated with cryptocurrencies and slowing down their widespread essentially adoption. Now, the U.S. Senator Cynthia Lummis essentially appointed as a chair at the Senate Banking Committee Subcommittee of Digital Assets that happened today could accelerate the legislation for stocks and bonds and tokenizations. And regarding the no for her crypto stance, Lummis is expected to foster the cooperation among the SEC, the Department of Treasury, the CFTC, the FNIR, essentially the FINRA, and the state securities regulators as well. And still, one should consider BlackRock CEO Larry Fink's statements with caution, since the firm holds a major essentially interest in tokenizing real-world assets, such as changes could broaden the base of buyers for essentially US listed stocks and bonds, and in which BlackRock is essentially among the top investors. Moreover, the company might serve as an intermediary handling custody or administrative functions. BlackRock has just given essentially the order, you could pretty much say, to the SEC to rapidly essentially approve tokenization of bonds and stocks. It goes back to what I said last year and the year before that, where I said that everybody around me that was telling me, you should invest into real estate, or you should invest into stocks, or you should, people said, Miles, should I, I'm going to be buying a new car, I want to buy a house, or I want to go into stocks or cryptos, what should I do? And I've always said to people that you want to aim for crypto. I said this 2 years ago to people as well. I said, you want to be aiming for crypto. And I said to everyone that if anybody remembers me saying these exact words, I said, the crypto space is this big. The stock market is, this big, and the real estate market is this big. The automotive industry is this big, and so on and so on. You get the picture. And I said, this little market space is about to be tokenizing everything around it. I said, this little market space, the crypto market space, is going to be tokenizing the real estate space, the essentially stock space, the Wall Street and so on, the automotive industry, and so on and so on. Every market space is about to become tokenized. And I said, this little crypto space here is about to be revolutionizing everything else around it. And now, fast forwarding to today, 23rd of January, 2025, BlackRock CEO stating that we need to rapidly pass the tokenization of bonds, stocks, and everything else related to tokenizations. Yeah, the crypto space is about to revolutionize everything else around it. And if you're positioned correctly in legitimate assets that are going to be taking advantage of this whole tokenization space, then you're in the clear, to be fairly honest. Now, obviously, you want to be in American projects, believe it or not. And then, obviously, Ethereum is not on this list. And it's never going to be on this list because it's not an American company. That's why, essentially, Trump is very focused on American companies only. And by the way, Vitalik Buterin is not really happy about that matter of Trump coming out and saying American companies only. Vitalik Buterin today, for example, was talking about how, political meme coins should not be created and is bad for the crypto space and so on and so on, is what Vitalik Buterin is coming out and saying. This is Vitalik Buterin who is being bitter, essentially towards Trump, because Trump stated that the only blockchain projects that matter technically to America is American blockchain projects, and also including Bitcoin. And not really Ethereum. And Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin has come out essentially and said, co-founder of Ethereum, talking about how, political parties should not be creating meme coins, essentially throwing shade at the whole Trump meme coin and essentially Millennium meme coin and so on. Now, creating meme coins, essentially is all like lottery numbers. I've always said, if you buy a meme coin, it's like buying a lottery ticket. If it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, you lose money. But it's interesting that essentially Vitalik Buterin is throwing shade on somebody creating a meme coin because the only reason Ethereum was able to boost itself was from the meme coin space, from the retail section. Ethereum's blueprint is meme coin money, which then branched out into all these segments. And Solana is using the exact same blueprint that Ethereum left behind, which is get the retail to come in with meme coins. And AVAX is doing the exact same thing, so on, so on, so on. But it's interesting that a man that's essentially boosted his own crypto project with either investor money from China or money from the retail section that created meme coin on his chain to get Ethereum to number 2 is throwing shade on politicians creating meme coins. I think one should look in the mirror, Vitalik Buterin. But you can tell Vitalik Buterin is not really happy that, you know, Trump is very heavily focused on American blockchains. And obviously, Ethereum's not really an American blockchain, is it now? Well, you could say this, for the longest time, Ethereum had a very great ride, to be fairly honest. I'm not saying Ethereum is going anywhere. You know, Ethereum's not going anywhere in any sort of a way. It's staying where it is, but not at number 2, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying Ethereum's going to go away, it's going to go to 0 or anything like that. No. Ethereum is going to stay where it is, but just not at number 2. And they're not happy about that. But if you think about it, you know, Ethereum did have a ride. You know, Ethereum had their best buddy from the SEC stifle one particular crypto project for a long time. And now their best buddy from the SEC has resigned. And obviously the previous one also resigned, Hinman. And Trump is very heavily focused on American blockchain projects. You can see where this is going. Now, also, President Trump has had, apparently is going to be having another phone call or a sit down with El Salvador's president. Now, El Salvador's president has, in my opinion, done an incredible project. Essentially, El Salvador has, you know, did a complete 360 on their country. The same way Trump has done a 360 on America. You know, the United States was standing on its essentially last leg. The United States was standing on its last leg. And then Trump come in and essentially pretty much fixed a lot of things just within a few days. There's motion happening. There's movement happening. There's hope once again, not just for the United States people, but there's hope pretty much for all of us around the world because of Trump, to be fairly honest. And also, we can't thank Trump more, you know, enough for what, essentially everything he's done so far for us. And this is just a few days in. Imagine what he's going to be doing as we, you know, progress forward. So, you know, and El Salvador has also done an incredible job as well. You know, the crime rate in El Salvador has dropped ridiculously. It's become a very crypto-friendly, essentially, country. They're turning a profit, which is, you know, crazy. El Salvador went from a country that wasn't turning over a profit, had the highest crime rate and so on, to now a country which is one of the safest countries around the world, which essentially has a very crypto-friendly stance. They're turning a profit as a country. Their GDP is getting better and so on. So that's incredible. And you know, they're speaking for essentially Latin American countries. And Trump is going to be having some sort of a call or a sit down with them. So here it is. Presidents will be talking about how to adopt crypto soon. Presidents will be talking about how to adopt crypto soon. This is how fast things are moving. Trump to have a call with El Salvador's president. According to sources closer to the White House, President Trump is scheduled to hold a call with El Salvador's pro-Bitcoin, essentially, president. Sources that essentially he will be speaking to the protest Trump today at around 8:30, essentially p.m. GMT time. Now, the two presidents last spoke back on November 7th. So this isn't the first time they're having a conversation, but this is the first time they're having a conversation of Trump being the president of the United States. And essentially, they're both on the pro-crypto side. And the topic is related to how we're going to, you know, let's work together. Let's get this crypto train rolling. So this was essentially about a day after Trump was announced as the winner, essentially, U.S. presidential race against the former Vice President Kamala Harris. And then in a recent X post, also, former Binance CEO CZ reacted to the news, saying that the country leaders will essentially all be holding and talking about crypto adoption soon, if not already. This is CZ. CZ is an incredible, intelligent man, incredibly, essentially connected man, CZ coming out and saying essentially that presidents around the world are soon going to be having a sit down with each other, talking about how to work together inside the crypto space. And he said, if they haven't come together soon, they're already talking to each other now. The president of El Salvador essentially has advocated for, Bitcoin and crypto-friendly market space and so on, and declared last week essentially that 2025 will be a transformative year for crypto. This is the exact same words of what? Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank today came out and said that 2025 is going to be a transformative year for the crypto space. The president of El Salvador coming out today and saying pretty much the same thing. It's going to be a transformative year for 2025 for the crypto space. And CZ also coming out and saying that, essentially presidents around the world are now, if they're going to be having conversations with each other regarding how to work inside the crypto space together soon, or they're doing it already right now. They're having conversations. Now, moving off that, which is incredible, absolutely incredible, to the US Senate. Now, before we talk about the US Senate, actually, I want to go inside the comment section first. But the US Senate we are going to talk about is the bill that they're proposing for a reserve, an asset reserve, Bitcoin asset reserve. Now, before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section first. As I said previously, this is live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. This is live, as usual. Now, let's go inside the comment section first, and then we'll go straight into the next news. So let's see what's going on inside the comment section first. We were at here. Innovation, or no, President Trump, I think we were here. Innovation on the previous administrations. Yep. Miles, when you think Black Swan coming, it's an outcome, but not the outcome. 2023, we talked about XRP being in the reserves. We did. Facts. Exciting times ahead. Absolutely facts. Yes, artistic. Without facts. Is ACH still going to be used in the East African regions? At what stage should one swap for it for XRP? Now. Look, there's a chance of ACH still being used, but the thing is, the focus right now is on American companies, and ACH is not technically an American company. It's more of a decentralized project. So, you want to be putting your focus on XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR, Cardano, and so on, preferably. So you might want to make that switch over now. Sorry, I missed some of the live, but I'm majority essentially I've got the majority in XRP, XLM, XDC, and HBAR compared to ACH now. Oh yeah, in general. Sorry, I missed some of the live, but did see on X about Brad replying to BTC Maxis period, which are having a go at Ripple being the biggest obstacle for what he hopes BTC is up. We're going to talk about that, Shelly. So towards the end of the live, we're going to talk about that as well, regarding the whole Brad and the Bitcoin Maxis. We're going to talk about that towards the end. I think ACH is not a good like XDC. Obviously, XDC is better. If XRP is to become part of the reserve, then surely we need to rethink our price expectations. Mine has always been high, but this would take it even higher. Yes, it will. What price, Miles, can Chainlink be in the building? Chainlink will do well for itself. I couldn't tell you a price point, but it will do well for itself. Yeah, I remember when you said that, Miles, regarding tokenization. ACH and Quant, big waste of coin. I said for the longest time, Quant was a waste of money. Miles, you think ETH is finished and will take coin on its blockchain down with it? ETH is not finished. It's gonna, ETH is gonna be alive and pumping, but just won't be sitting at number 2 anymore. Not financial advice to anybody, just my experience. Last night, I was clearing off small, essentially, purses of Ethereum-based projects and off of Solana. Basically, it cost me the same in fees as the small purses. Yeah. Making transfers on essentially selling off on Ethereum, paying gas fees is ridiculous. Ethereum should not be sitting at number 2. The only reason that Ethereum is sitting at number 2 is because it offers smart contract capabilities, which help to create a lot of great projects, to be fairly honest. But that's the only reason it's sitting at number 2. As a payment system, Ethereum sucks. I'll be very honest here. I could have used a bit more professional word, but Ethereum sucks when it comes to payments. Nobody wants to be paying those high fees. No choice but to leave those small purses sitting on the song, essentially So be prepared. This is why I do not like Ether, essentially of those platforms. It's a few $100 in each. I was testing certain projects, and on the subject of essentially payments. Now I was going to read you a different news, but let me just give you this news because, and I'll read you that news as well. But let me just give you this one. Actually, you know what? I have to read you this to get to that news. But also on the subject of fees when it comes to payments and so on. There's one particular news that I'm going to be reading you out a little bit later on. And, once we get that news, I'll explain what I mean. Better off putting 4 on essentially, or $500 that was I was paying for leaving or topping off essentially ISO coins. Fair enough. I don't have much money, any coin. Yeah, recommend that do high numbers for less coins. XDC, if you want to. Is XDC considered American? Yes and no. Miles, you were saying that ACH was a great project last year, and that if that it is so many contracts, ACH has incredible amount of contracts. ACH has an incredible amount of contracts. The issue is Trump's focus right now is on American crypto projects, and it's not really an American crypto project. That's where the issue lies. ACH is incredible. It's genuinely incredible. It has a multitude list of licensings. Worldwide licensings, a multitude list of partnerships. But because Trump has turned his focus on only American blockchain projects, that wouldn't be considered technically a fully American blockchain project. That's what the issue lies at. Because other than that, it's an incredible project, a multitude of licensings, worldwide licensings, multitude of partnerships. It could still do very well for itself. But if you want a bigger position in the side of the market space, you might want to start moving to American crypto projects, which has always been XRP, XLM, and XDC, and so on, HBO, and so on. But XDC is because of R3 Corda. But in general, XRP, XLM, and essentially HBO, and so on. He has essentially positioned, himself for American blockchain projects only. And ACH doesn't technically play the role as an American blockchain project. That's the issue. Other than that, it's American. It's an incredible project in the financial category. And that's why I said I've shifted. If you see my recent, essentially updated portfolio on Telegram's group, on our Telegram group, the CMF chat, which is free, by the way, if anybody wants to join. I've updated my portfolio, and ACH is no longer sitting in the position it was. XDC, no longer to the moon, but to Mars. Yes, with XRP and the rest, yes, definitely. Now we have to sell ACH, and we will be making a loss when we convert into financial tokens. You won't be making that much of a loss. The BTC Maxis are really going to have because if you look at it from another perspective, you might make a small loss now, but you'll make a huge gain later on. So you're not technically making a huge loss. If you sell your ACH and transfer over to essentially XRP, XLM, XDC, and HBO, and so on, and Cardano, you might make a small loss now, but you'll make a bigger gain later on. So you're not sitting at a loss. The BTC Maxis, or you're short-term sitting on a loss, but long-term you're sitting on a profit. The BTC Maxis are really going to have a breakdown when we flip ETH. Oh yeah, definitely. 100%. XCN is doing very good. Why? I don't know if I don't know what XCN's partnerships or contracts or licensing are. I need to look into it to give their perspective on it. You can, if you want, Maris, comment outside the live on YouTube, and I'll reply back to your comment, and I'll take a look into it for you. No problem. Employees, thank you. No problem. So, do you think it will be doing well in the bull run? Can we make our money back on it? In the bull run, it will do well. In the bull run, it will do well. But then again, in the bull run, XRP will be doing better. XLM will be doing better. HBO will be doing better. XDC will be doing better. You get the picture. So you can make a small loss now and make the transfer and make a bigger gain on the better projects, or you can hold it in the run and make your money, make a little bit of money, but then the other projects will be taking over it. So you have two options, not financial advice in any sort of way. Make the transfer over. I still hold some ACH, but not to the drastic level, essentially of that. But you have two options. One, make the transfer over to your ACH, make that transfer over to XRP, XLM, XDC, HBO, so on, and make a small, loss now and make a bigger gain later on. Or two, if you want, hold it until the run, The run happens, ACH goes up like the rest of them, but the rest, like XRP, XLM, XDC, and HCON, and so on, they'll be skyrocketing higher, while your ACH will be going up in price as well. And then you can sell it, but then you'll buy less tokens later on for XRP and so on. So you're better off, if you want to, not financial advice in any sort of a way, to small loss now, better gain later on. Because they're focused on American companies. Small loss now, better gain later on, or hold and make a gain, but then when you try to go into the bigger projects, they're already too high priced. So there's two options: hold and go into them later on, the main projects, but then again the price point, or essentially little loss now, a bigger gain later on. But I still hold some ACH. If you look at my portfolio on the Telegram chat group, I still hold ACH, but it's not ranking where it used to be on my essentially list. The blades, essentially. So it's up to you. But what I've done is essentially focus more on the American projects now. That's what my new portfolio is on the Telegram group. Because of Trump stating American projects only, he's focused on. So that's your options. The Blade wallet, hot wallet, holds just XDC, better than any other cold wallet, which XDC sites on EVM. Any sidechain high fees on EVM, better to hold and XDC Blade. If it's cheap, then sure, why not? Quant was described as the Google of blockchain. Quant was described as the Google of blockchain, which is funny because XRP Ledger was actually described as the Google of blockchain by CTO Ripple once. It makes more sense for XRP Ledger to be the Google of blockchain, but that's a funny one. Does that mean that only American projects will be considered legit? I disagree with Trump on that, Miles. No, it doesn't mean that only American companies will be legit, and that doesn't mean that other projects around American companies will do terribly bad. No, other crypto projects around the American projects will also do good, but the American projects will do better. So it's not that Trump is saying only American projects matter and nothing else matters inside the crypto space. No. Basically, what that means is the focus will be more on American projects, but other projects that are not American companies will also do good, but the American projects will do better because more money will be allocated towards them. That's all that means. It doesn't mean the rest are bad and only American is good. It just means more allocation will be towards American projects compared to projects that are not American. But then again, if a project comes out that's international and brings massive, something massive to the table, then that can change the game. But that's all that means, basically. It doesn't mean every other project is not legit. It just means, the focused American ones will do better. America's best country and best coins. Yeah, I agree. VeChain, I'm thinking of swapping out as it's not US based. If you want to, why not? Because if it's not US based. Miles, I have it on Tangem, so should I just send it to an exchange and convert it, or should I just sell it on Tangem? You can do it on Tangem if you want to, but that instantly will maybe, for a split second, will turn your wallet into essentially a hot wallet and then back into a cold wallet. But it'll be a very quick transfer done and dusted, or you could do it to an exchange, completely optional. Just this once, just do it in Tangem. Not recommended to do it all the time, but once it's okay to do it on Tangem. And it's a quick, essentially, swap of transfer. Miles, XDC headquarter is Singapore, so is this American or no? XDC technically R3 quarter can be considered because of the Bank of International Settlements. So it's a yes and no type of question. What does this mean for XDC's future if it's not American? Because of R3 quarter, their future is perfectly fine. Oh, okay, it makes sense. No problem. I think with trade finance, which XDC is focused on, Trump team will find US coins as stock trades so huge. Thoughts? I agree. Now, US Senate essentially is proposing a bill to invest into public employees, essentially retirement funds, into spot Bitcoin ETFs. If project is good and has world use, it will do well. I agree 100% is what Ian is saying as well. As I said, if there is a project internationally based, there's a blockchain project that's international, it's not American, but it's international, and it brings something genuinely amazing to the table of blockchain or Web3 or something like that, or financial sector or so on, then It doesn't really matter if it's American or not. But that project has to be superb in every aspect. So, in other words, on the words of Ian, it's like, if the project is good, has world use case, it will do well. You transfer ACH back to exchange, do you incur any costs? Yes, because it's on the ETH chain. But if you do it on Tangent, the fees will be lower, I'm guessing. Thank you, Miles. Love you. No problem, employees, anytime. Now, US Senator proposes a bill to invest public employees' retirement funds into spot Bitcoin ETFs. In a significant, essentially, step towards mainstream crypto adoption, Craig Bowser, a U.S. Senate from Kansas, has introduced a bill aimed at essentially allowing up to 10% of public, essentially, employees' retirement funds to be invested into spot Bitcoin ETFs. The proposed legislation has been reported by Cointelegraph. So a US senator has came out and said that in Kansas, 10% of all their employees, essentially retirement funds, should be allocated towards Bitcoin ETFs. And it's not a bad idea, but I think that there should be other ETFs in that matter as well. But for now, because of Gary Gensler, we only have 2 ETFs, but he's out now anyways. If passed, this bill could pave the way for public pension funds to benefit from long-term potential of Bitcoin, adding diversification and a hedge against inflation to their investment strategies. To essentially, let me give you the key points and highlights of this proposed bill, and that this bill could be used as an alternative for other ETFs as well. Investment limits. The bill caps Bitcoin ETF investments at 10% of the total public employees' retirement funds to mitigate their risk while promoting diversification. Other American states could also follow these footsteps. Focus on essentially spot Bitcoin ETFs. Unlike futures-based ETFs, spot Bitcoin ETFs directly track Bitcoin's price, offering more accurate essential exposure to the cryptocurrency. Regulatory oversight. The bill emphasizes compliance with U.S. securities laws to ensure transparency and investor protection. Why this matters for public essentially employees. The proposal reflects an increasing acknowledgement of Bitcoin's role in modern investment strategies. Portfolio diversification. Adding Bitcoin ETFs provides exposures to an asset class that is essentially uncorrelated with traditional market spaces. Inflation hedge. Bitcoin's limited supply essentially makes an attractive hedge against fiat currency devaluations. Potential for growth. Long-term appreciation in Bitcoin's value could significantly enhance pension fund returns. Growing acceptance of Bitcoin in institutional portfolios. The introduction of this bill aligns with the broader trends in institutional crypto adoption. ETFs gain essentially traction. Spot Bitcoin ETFs have seen increasing demand globally, with essentially several applications pending approval inside the United States. Countries like Canada and Europe, essentially the continent of Europe, already offer spot Bitcoin ETFs, setting a precedent for adoption, essentially for adoption. Now, institutional endorsements, major financial firms, including BlackRock and Fidelity, are actively essentially pursuing Bitcoin ETFs, signaling that major confidence inside the market space. Now, also regulatory progress. U.S. regulatory agencies are gradually providing clearer guidelines for crypto investments and encouraging adoption essentially of public funds and potential risk and mitigations. Now, while the proposed bill offers significant opportunities, it also acknowledges inherent risks. Volatility, essentially Bitcoin's price fluctuations could impact portfolio stabilities, and the 10% cap essentially minimizes this risk in this situation. Regulatory uncertainty. Pending decisions on spot Bitcoin ETF approvals could delay implementations. Public opinions, skepticism about Bitcoin among policymakers and the public may influence the bill's essential reception and impact on the crypto ecosystem. If approved, the bill could have a far-reaching efforts, increase legitimacy in terms of public pension funds. Investments will be solidified in terms of Bitcoin's status as a mainstream financial asset. Boosted adoption, institutional participation could inspire confidence among retail investors and small institutions if they create a pension fund that's allocated towards, essentially the public pension fund allocated towards Bitcoin 10%. Market growth, significant inflows into the Bitcoin ETFs could drive price appreciation and market capitalization growth. And essentially, Senator Craig bill to allocate up to 10% of the public employees' retirement funds to spot Bitcoin ETFs represents a landmark essentially moment in cryptocurrency adoption by incorporating Bitcoin to traditional essentially pension strategies And the legislation underscores the growing acceptance of digital assets as a legitimate investment option. While challenges like regulatory uncertainties and the market volatility remains, this initiative could significantly influence Bitcoin's adoption by institutional investors, fostering long-term growth and stability in the cryptocurrency market space. And essentially, on this matter, essentially of the pension fund, a Bitcoin pension fund, some allocation towards employees and so on, it's something that's already happening inside the United States, to be fairly honest. And in my opinion, the more ETFs that we get, the more that will widen the range of pension funds in terms of not just being allocated towards Bitcoin ETFs. But in general, we do have some pension funds in the United States and outside of the United States. For example, one of the biggest pension funds in the world coming in from South Korea, private pension fund, is also in essentially Bitcoin ETFs and so on and so on. But it is an incredible bill, essentially for pension funds to be allocated towards crypto ETFs, in other words. Amazing. Now, let's get another indication of essentially that positivity inside the crypto space. Now, essentially, what we're going to be talking about next is the SEC. In terms of what the SEC needs to pass for the crypto space to get moving. Because we have the executive order from Trump. Amazing. America becomes capital hub, that's already signed. And essentially a reserve digital asset, that's already been signed as well. What we also need still is SEC regulations and CFTC regulations, which they're working at a rapid pace right now since Gary Gensler is gone, and so has Rostam Benham, the CFTC chairman. Now, if you ever wanted to know what is exactly that the SEC needs to pass, what does the SEC really need to pass for this market to get going? Well, here is basically in bullet points, 6 bullet points on what the SEC needs to exactly pass to get the ball rolling. One of them, actually 7 things, because one of them actually got passed today, the SAB 121. In other words, they removed it. So here are the main, essentially factors. A new digital age at the SEC. 6 immediate steps the SEC can take to regulate crypto assets. As technology evolves, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, must evolve with it. Now, essentially, nowhere is the essentially truer than the crypto, and now the market for crypto assets has grown in size. And a sophistication such as that the SEC recent harmful approach of enforcements has essentially caused a lot of essentially urgent requirement that the SEC does cater towards, which is bringing out the regulations. So here it is. 1, provide guidance on airdrops. The SEC should provide essentially guidance for how blockchain projects can distribute incentive based on crypto rewards to participate without those being categorized as security offerings. Believe it or not, every aspect of what a crypto essentially is supposed to be, Gary Gensler was trying to say, is a security. Staking, security. Airdrop, security. Crypto itself, security. So that needs to be changed, in other words. Blockchain projects typically offer such rewards and often called as airdrops to incentivize usage of a particular network. These distributions are critical as a tool for enabling essentially blockchain projects to progressively decentralize and essentially dismantle ownerships and controls of projects to their users. Now, 2, modify essentially crowdfunding rules. The SEC should revise regulations in terms of crowdfunding rules so they are suitable for crypto startups, because a lot of American blockchain projects didn't even bother starting up because they knew they were going to get sued by the SEC. So in other words, some sort of regulations to be in place for blockchain startup companies in America to not feel like they're being stifled right off the bat. These startups often need a broader distribution of crypto assets to develop critical mass and network effects for essentially their platforms and applications or protocols. Number 3, enable broker essentially dealers to operate in crypto, one of the bigger ones. The current regulatory environment restricts traditional broker deals from engaging meaningfully inside the crypto industry, primarily because it requires brokers to obtain separate approvals to transact inside the crypto space and impose even more essentially regulations around broker deals who wish to custody crypto assets. Now, custodying crypto assets is a very big issue that the SEC needs to sort out. In other words, mega corporations do want to hold crypto assets, and essentially banks want to hold crypto assets, but that SAB 121 definitely helped banks to be able to essentially hold crypto assets. But in general, custody of crypto assets, there needs to be a regulation in place for that. So institutions don't feel like they're, entering into gray areas when they're holding onto the crypto assets. Number four, providing essentially guidance and custody and settlements. Over-regulatory treatments, essentially, and accounting rules has deteriorated traditional financial institutions from entering the crypto custody market space. This means that many investors are not getting the benefits of essentially asset management for their investments, and instead are left with investing on their own and essentially arranging their own custody alternatives. Another thing that essentially is a big issue is the settlement issue in this matter for number four. The settlement issue, it needs to go away, because in terms of the cases that's happening with the SEC, the Ripple case, the Coinbase case, the Kraken case, the MetaMask case, essentially consensus in other words, or the essentially Kraken case and so on, they need to get settled or dismissed. So there has to be essentially a settlement approach happening that the SEC needs to take care of. Also, reform ETP standards. The SEC should adopt reform measures for essentially ETPs and ETFs that can foster financial innovation. The proposal promotes a broader market access to investors, essentially, and use the managing portfolios of ETPs and essentially ETFs. So the topic of ETPs and ETFs is a very crucial topic as well, because we need to move beyond just Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. We need to have a broad range, essentially, of ETFs happening inside that market space. And we're going to be having that with the new SEC chairmen, with the new SEC acting chairman, Mark, who's very pro-crypto, and Hester Pierce. And 6, the implement of certifications for ATS listings. In decentralized environments where essentially issuers of crypto assets may play no significant continuing role, who bears responsibility for providing accurate disclosures around the asset? There is a helpful essentially analog from traditional securities markets here in the essential form of Exchange Acts and Rules 15C 2-11, which permits essentially broker deals to trade a security when current information for security is available to investors. Now, one of the other biggest issues essentially when it comes to crypto assets is the traditional, DeFi space, where DeFi needs to have some sort of, regulations in place. Not too strict where DeFi can't operate, but some sort of regulations in place so that institutions feel comfortable entering the DeFi space with their piles of cash. Now, there is also a 7th one, which is essentially the regulations for, payments to be able to happen. That needs to also be in place as well. Now, earlier on, Happy Pisces asked the question of, essentially, she was talking about Happy Pisces inside the comment section. She was talking about how she went to do a transfer on Ethereum and the fees were too high, and it just made no sense for her to even sell those tokens on her wallet. So she just left them on the ETH chain and the Sol chain and so on, because the fees were too high. And it was just made more sense just to leave those tokens and just buy new tokens, but not on the ETH chain anymore, because she's tired of paying high fees. And I said, well, there's some story on that matter. Not the Ethereum part, but the fees part. Do you want to know what the fees were for $6 billion that was transferred, essentially $6 billion worth of payments processed on Zaman wallet using XRP on the XRP ledger? $6 billion. Now, this is coming out from Zaman themselves. Zaman wallet themselves, which is the #1 XRP ledger hot wallet, they came out and said essentially they've processed so far in 2024, the numbers came out. Because this year has just started, obviously they're not going to have the numbers. They'll have the numbers at the end of 2025 for 2025. But the numbers for 2024, since the beginning of the year until the end of 2024, just came out today. And Zaman wallet processed over $6 billion worth of XRP transactions. And the fees for $6 billion worth of XRP transactions on the XRP ledger were $510. $510 just in fees for $6 billion in transferred fees. Let me just put that in perspective. If I do, and I'm being generous here, if I do 8 transfers on essentially ETH, if I do 8 transactions on ETH, I'll be most likely paying up to $500 to $600 in fees. If I do 8 8 transactions, small transactions between $50 and $100. 8 transactions, I'll definitely pay $500 to $600 in fees. If I do 8 transactions between $50 to $100. And then you have the XRP ledger that's processed $6 billion in a span of a year in transactions, and the fees in general for $6 billion in transactions back and forward were $510. I mean, does XRP ledger even, or XRP in general, does XRP even have a competition out there? No, there's literally no one on XRP's level. Zaman Wallet, essentially formerly known as Zaman Wallet, has showcased essentially the power of the XRP ledger as a low-cost and efficient payment system. In an X post, the wallet company revealed that in 2024, it processed over $6 billion in payments, including cross-border remittances and essentially other transactions, and used collectively paid only $510 in fees. This translates to less than 10 cents for every $1 million transferred. 10 cents for less than $1 million transferred. A stark contrast, essentially, to the $20 to $50 fees charged for $2,000 bank transfers that take days to settle. This is why XRP is the future of payments. This is genuinely why XRP is the future of payments. This success essentially is largely due to its user-friendly upgrades, especially its X app features, and its embedded web applications allow users to access servers like on-ramps and off-ramps and solutions, decentralized exchanges and so on payment tools, and directly essentially with the wallet. In 2024, Zaman users interacted with these X app nearly 8 million times, which shows the popularity and the utility of the application. And the reason why they have $6 billion in transfers and transactions and so on is because, Zaman Wallet does offer side apps and so on that people use. That's why, the high purchases were coming through, but the fees were penniless. XRP Ledger, essentially XRP Ledger Labs, Co-Roberts credited these enhancements for essentially driving the wallet's growth and hinted at more features and X apps planned for 2025. The broader XRP ecosystem has been blasted by growing optimism over potential regulatory clarity. This favorable environment is paving the way for applications like Zaman to shine and expand their reach. Zaman's essentially achievement underscores the strengths essentially of the XRP ledger as a low-cost, fast, and scalable payment solution, proving its value aimed rising interest in blockchain-based financial systems. That is crazy. Honestly, $6 billion, $510 in fees. $6 billion. If I do 8 transactions on Ethereum, 8 transactions on Ethereum, I'm being generous when I say 8, I can say 7 or 6 or 5 sometimes, but I'll be paying $500 of fees without a doubt. And there are people who've essentially processed transactions altogether, $6 billion transactions, and they paid that much only. Now, we come to the Ripple news. Now, this is Ripple CEO versus Bitcoin Maxis. Actually, before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section first. As I said previously, this is live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. We're more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Now, let's see what's going on inside the comment section, and we go straight into the next news. So, let's see. What's inside the comment section? Thank you, Miles, for your honest and sincere advice. I've been listening to you for the last 2 years now. Thank you, brother. No problem. Thank you, brother. Anytime, brother. So swapping on Tangent temporarily turns it into a hot wallet. It's still safe to do as I swaps all the time. Yeah, it's safe to do. Don't worry. Tangent is safe to do swaps on. It just turns into a quick hot and then back to cold. After all, this is great news with Trump and his team. Happy Pisces says, after all, this is great news with Trump and his team and crypto. I am being very quiet and seeing who's coming forward now and asking me about crypto. I tried for 2 years to mention it to people, blockchain events and research and so on. They all just rolled their eyes. Now it's mainstream. Let's see what they do. Facts. Miles, is Quant American cryptocurrency? No. Quant is technically a British cryptocurrency project. And it's not that great, I'll be honest. The only reason Quant was even appealing was because crypto influencers a long time ago were pushing quant due to his limited token supply. Did anyone see Wayne's essentially Vanguard post that said Ripple has no place on the US government's balance sheets? He said the US needs Bitcoin as a reserve. He doesn't seem to want Bitcoin to share the spotlight. I did, Stormy, and that's what we're going to get into next regarding the beef situation that's happening, debate situation that's happening between the Bitcoin Maxis and the XRP army. Or in this case, Bitcoin Maxi versus Brad. But we're going to get into that now. Miles, CMF evening. Let's go. Davey, how you doing? Let's go to the moon. Do you still not own BTC? No, I don't. Monica, no. If banks hold both CBDCs and crypto assets, will they favor one over the other? In other words, will they favor CBDCs and control the price of crypto assets somehow? They can do favor one over the other, but wholesale CBDCs will still exist, even if retail CBDCs take a little bit of time. 500 in terms of, will they spend fees? Let's go CMF this time next year. Woohoo. Let's go in. My fees were $300 for $320 of LCX on ETH. That is crazy. $6 billion with only around $500 in fees is outstanding. It definitely is absolute facts. Miles, I brought Jasmine Coin on Coinbase wallet last year for $1,500, where I converted my ETH. I ended up paying $400 for conversion. That is crazy. The fees were really high. Yeah, honestly, Ethereum makes 0 cents. That is crazy, $400 for fees. That's why I ended up having a lot of ETH in my portfolio because of conversion fees for the rest of my coins. Fair enough. Now, Brad, CEO of Ripple versus the Bitcoin Maxis. Let me just drink some water for this one. The Bitcoin Maxis are not happy. They're furious that XRP is taking the spotlight away from Bitcoin reserve strategy, essentially strategic, essentially reserve asset and so on for the United States. They're furious. How can XRP just come out of nowhere and add itself to the list? I said this about a week or month ago, that the Bitcoin Maxis need to get off their high horse, because this is not just about who is inside the reserve. This is about fixing a national debt, which is growing by the second. Okay, I said the Bitcoin Maxis need to get off their high horse. If anybody remembers me saying this, I said the Bitcoin Maxis need to get off their high horse, because it's not about Bitcoin this and Bitcoin that and Bitcoin reserve only. This is about fixing something major and something that should never happen again, where a country has a tremendous amount of debt, which is putting a lot of pressure on their government and mostly their people. So they need to get off their high horse, because preferably, if we want to fix a country's national debt problem, if you think about it, just from a logical perspective, just even using basic common sense, creating a crypto reserve will fix a national debt situation faster and make sure it won't happen again for a long time. Or we can just go with the idea of Bitcoin Maxis and Bitcoin sleep and eat Bitcoin, sleep Bitcoin, breathe Bitcoin, and hope for the best. But why, try to do that when we can just create? Because if you base it on the quantity, because if America does a crypto reserve or a Bitcoin reserve, the rest of the world will follow America's footsteps, as I said previously. And I give the simple, example where the leader of South Korea is learning how to play golf so he can have a 5-minute conversation with Trump. This is how far, they're following essentially Trump's footsteps, where they're trying to learn golf. Leaders of the world countries are trying to learn golf to, have a conversation with Trump. So they're definitely following Trump's footsteps. Whatever Trump does create, a crypto or Bitcoin reserve. So what I'm trying to say is creating essentially a crypto reserve makes a lot more sense. because based on the quantity, so if America creates a crypto reserve, they buy some Bitcoin, some XRP, some essentially Cardano, some H4, all these American tokens, and they spend billions doing it. Imagine America owning 1 billion XRP, for example. Every other country will follow America's footsteps. Instead of creating a Bitcoin reserve, they will start to create a crypto reserve, which means the price will go higher and higher and higher and higher for all these assets, all these American assets, XRP, essentially Cardano and H4 and so on, will go higher and higher and higher. And based on the amount of quantity, essentially, that America has, and every other country will be buying, the price will go higher and higher. Based on the quantity, they will have a tremendous amount of value, which means they'll have enough to back their national debts, so that goes away, and for it essentially to not happen for a very long time. Not saying never happen, it will happen again, because we live in a very greedy world. Debt will create, even if this debt goes away by some miracle, it will grow back somehow, because we live in a very greedy world. But at least we'll prevent it from happening for a while. So instead of spending, essentially 2 billion or 1 billion or whatever, just buying a Bitcoin reserve and hoping for the best, why not just create a crypto reserve of American companies, American projects, based on the quantity they're going to get now and the value it's going to have later on when every country joins into a crypto reserve? Honestly, the Bitcoin maxis need to get off their high horse, because this isn't about a Bitcoin reserve. It's bigger than a Bitcoin reserve. It's about fixing a country's national debt problem. But the Bitcoin maxis can't comprehend that, because that means nothing to them. All the Bitcoin maxis care about is greed. That is the only thing Bitcoin maxis care about, just greed. No, we want to be first. Bitcoin first all the time. Get off your high horse, Bitcoin maxis, and stop being greedy. What needs to happen is every country has a debt problem. The UK has a debt problem. Europe in general as a continent has a debt problem. Russia has a debt problem. China has a humongous debt problem. Asian countries have a debt problem. Middle Eastern countries have a debt problem. Every country around the world has a major debt problem. And that debt problem needs to be fixed. And a crypto reserve will fix that debt problem, not just a Bitcoin maxi. Not just Bitcoin reserve. So the Bitcoin maxis need to understand, they need to get off their high horse, they need to understand this is bigger than just Bitcoin first. This is about fixing an issue. So you need to stop being greedy and think about the bigger picture, because the bigger these debts get in these countries, the bigger the pressure is going to be on regular people. So, Ripple's CEO responds to accusations, essentially, of lobbying against Bitcoin reserves. Bitcoin Max is not happy that essentially Brad is saying a crypto reserve makes more sense, because it does. Ripple's CEO, Brad, has come out to essentially debunk the allegations of the company lobbying against Bitcoin, because he's not lobbying against Bitcoin. Brad is not saying no to Bitcoin and only to XRP reserves. Brad is saying, let's do a collective. Let's create a crypto reserve, including Bitcoin. But the Bitcoin people are just greedy and just want, no, just Bitcoin reserve. Who cares about the national debt? We just want a Bitcoin reserve. So Brad said that this is not Ripple's intentions to hinder the creation of Bitcoin in terms of a reserve, but rather to support a reserve of cryptocurrencies, which include any other token. Now, Pierre, the vice president of Riot Platforms, one of the biggest Bitcoin mining corporations, has opposed Ripple's power to decide on the creation of a Bitcoin reserve. Well, Pierre, the vice president of Riot Platforms, can stick it where the sun don't shine. Because again, it's bigger than just a Bitcoin reserve. It's about fixing a national debt, or in this case, an international debt problem. Honestly, Pierre, the vice president of Riot Platforms, can stick his opinion where the sun don't shine, because he's opposed to Ripple's power to decide on the creation of a Bitcoin reserve. According to Pierre, Ripple's lobbying is leading, essentially factor hindering the creation of a strict Bitcoin reserve. No, it's not. Ripple's not saying no to Bitcoin, but you are saying no to XRP. This is about collective. He said that Ripple is desperately trying to sabotage the plan, which may lead to the creation of a national Bitcoin reserve. Pierre stated that it's Ripple/XRP. They are aggressively lobbying against the SBR by throwing essentially around millions of dollars at politicians, desperately trying to derail it. Pierre also views aligns with a section of the crypto community, especially those essentially who view Bitcoin as a standalone digital commodity competing with gold. Do you know what's interesting? People like Pierre, Riot Platforms, didn't mind Ripple paying essentially millions of dollars to politicians, to essentially Republican politicians, to turn them pro-crypto. That was perfectly essentially, fine for Pierre, because the comment that Pierre made is ridiculously stupid. Honestly, ridiculously stupid, because Pierre essentially stating that, the only reason Ripple is essentially, getting their word in is because they're paying politicians off. Well, Pierre had no issues with Ripple paying off politicians to get pro-crypto Republicans coming in. The only reason essentially we have a clean sweep of essentially Republican politicians is because crypto companies like Ripple and Coinbase were funding all these politicians, all these Republican pro-crypto politicians. We have a clean sweep. Yes, we have the vote of the people, but we also have the money of these essentially of companies like Ripple that boosted the Republicans on a larger scale, that the money of Coinbase that boosted on a larger scale, or Crypto.com, or essentially Kraken. So Pierre had no issues with Ripple funding this whole campaign alongside them. But now that the time has come, Pierre says, no, Ripple should have no part of this. Pierre views essentially aligns with a section of the crypto community, especially those who view Bitcoin as a standalone digital commodity competing with gold. In response, Brad noted that the company's objective is to promote the establishment of a multi-token reserve, not just a Bitcoin reserve. This is a contrast to Bitcoin supporters who consider Bitcoin one of the leaders essentially in cryptocurrency market space. Our efforts are actually increasing the likelihood of a crypto streak reserve, which includes Bitcoin, happening. Brad said. These are Brad's words. Even Brad has said that we're actually going to be getting a essentially crypto reserve in America, not just a Bitcoin reserve, but Brad is saying we're getting a crypto reserve, which we are, which is very obvious because of what essentially Trump just signed today. The documentation that Trump signed today states that we're getting a national digital asset reserve, not a Bitcoin reserve. So Brad is right. We are getting essentially a crypto reserve. And Pierre can Pierre can stick it where the sun don't shine, to be fairly honest. Adding further essentially complexities to the situation, President Donald Trump has signed an executive order creating the Presidential Working Group on Digital Asset Markets. The order requires the group to develop federal rules for digital assets such as stablecoins and consider establishing a national digital asset reserve. That's what it states in the document, a national digital asset reserve. Rumors have heightened that the reserve could be in the form of a Bitcoin, but no, because if it was a Bitcoin reserve, it would have said Bitcoin reserve. The executive order also states that this stockpile could be developed using essentially digital assets that have been seized by the federal government through law enforcement. Based on Arkham data, the US government has $21 billion worth of seized cryptocurrencies, with Bitcoin being the most common asset, holding essentially over 198,000 Bitcoin in their wallets. These could potentially be used for a national reserve. This potential essentially for a strict Bitcoin reserve has been accelerated by recent appointments of essentially Senator Luminous, a Bitcoin supporting essentially senator, as the new chair of the Senate Banking Subcommittee on Digital Assets. Luminous has noted that essentially the subcommittee will focus on passing a baptism bill to support the proper developments of digital assets and examine the creation of a Bitcoin reserve. Now, in her announcements, Luminous also pledged to strengthen oversight of federal financial regulators to stop the reputational policies like Operation Choke Point 2.0. And Luminous has said that she plans to promote policies favorable to cryptocurrencies and possibly to create a reserve. So, I've said it and I'll say it again. A crypto reserve makes a lot more sense than a Bitcoin reserve because, as I said previously, this is bigger than just Bitcoin. This is about fixing the world's national debt problem, which is growing by the second. As I said, the US obviously has the biggest debt. Russia has a huge debt. China has a humongous debt. The UK has a massive debt. The continent of EU the continent of Europe has a humongous debt as well. Middle Eastern countries have some debt. Asian countries have a tremendous amount of debt. The entire world is tied to debt, and we need to slow it down or make it go away eventually. And we're not going to be able to do that with just a Bitcoin reserve. The only reason Bitcoin maxis want a Bitcoin reserve is because they care about themselves. That's the only reason that Bitcoin maxis want a Bitcoin reserve, because Bitcoin maxis only care about themselves. And that's an indication that shows that. Because Brad, on the other hand, is saying, let's do a crypto reserve, including Bitcoin. But the Bitcoin maxis said, no, we don't want a crypto reserve. We just want our reserves, because they only care about themselves. So here's a message to all the Bitcoin maxis. Stick it where the sun don't shine, because this whole national debt is bigger than just Bitcoin. It's about fixing an international debt. So Pierre and everybody else that essentially is only advocating for a Bitcoin reserve and is just being plain greedy, not caring about the massive debts that the world is creating, not caring about the average person, the amount of pressure that this debt is putting on the average person trying to live a normal life. You don't care about any of that. All you care about is the Bitcoin sitting in your wallets to go higher and higher. All of you collectively can stick it where the sun don't shine. Honestly, all of you collectively can stick it where the sun don't shine. Because honestly, a crypto reserve makes 10 times more sense than a Bitcoin reserve, based on the quantity you can get now, and every country following their footsteps. So Bitcoin maxis, stop being greedy and think about the bigger problem. The problem that this national debt, that this reserve is supposed to be solving, which is the debt. Not to make the price go higher so you can profit. Now, as we said previously, and I'll say it again, 1 billion% XRP and other assets will be a part of this reserve. Obviously, the assets that essentially the United States government has seized will be a part of it, as they stated, but there will be other assets they'll be buying as well. And also, on that note, we have also reached the endings of tonight's live. If you're watching this for the first time ever, and you're wondering what this is and who am I, and this is the CMF Live, stands for Crypto Miles Family. And my name is Miles, a global persona, Crypto Miles, and I'm the host of this live Monday to Friday, 11:25 p.m. UK time. And on this live, I talk about the most recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations, vital information for you to know about regarding the world completely transforming into a digital space. And we also do Q&As on this live as well. The disclaimer of this live, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and what advice is only for entertainment purposes. And we have come to the endings of tonight's live. All good things must come to an end, which they have now. And this was episode 248 of the CMF Live. This is episode 248 of the CMF Live, which is incredible that we're on episode 248. But yeah, if you want somebody that's holding American projects right now, your future is looking extremely bright. Honestly, incredibly bright your future is looking at right now. Today was a very big day, by the way. SEC closed door meeting, Trump signing the executive order, Morgan Stanley coming out and speaking positively about the crypto space. Today was a very big day. Brad finally coming out and, speaking about this matter. Honestly, where we're heading towards is incredible right now. Absolutely incredible. Big things are coming our way inside the crypto space. Massive things are coming your way inside the crypto space. All of your future is about to be changed and for the better. People are getting very emotional regarding their coins they are holding. It's all about making money, not getting emotional. Facts. The world will be able to move forward for all of us. Let's go crypto. Facts. Let's go, Ian. Should I buy Trump coin? No. Bitcoin Maxis feeling threatened right now. Let's go, Shani. Let's go inside the comment section, obviously, before we do go. Let's see what's happening inside the comment section first, before we do go. Actually, this was my main reason to stop by ACH 5 to 6 months ago, because it is on the ETH network. Fair enough. Bitcoin Maxis feeling the threat right now. Facts. Let's go, Shelly. Miles crypto reserve makes total sense. Yes, it does, Ian. Let's go. Facts. Should I buy Trump now? No. The world will be able to move forward for all of us. Let's go crypto. Let's go Ian. Hey, how you doing? As if people are getting very emotional regarding their coins. Yes, they are, Funky Brother. Facts. It's strictly business, nothing personal. Facts. Let's go, Funky Brother. To build new financial systems on a baseless BTC foundation alone is akin to building on a weak and essentially shifting sands and personal opinion. I agree, Michael, 100%. I've had disagreements with my family members about BTC being dominant for a long time. Let's go, Bourbon. Many eggs in the same basket. Facts. Let's go. Good night, Miles, and all the CMF. Thank you for all the news and great live. Let's go, JPC, tomorrow, but at the same time as usual. Always enlightening hearing you speak. Have a great night. See you same time tomorrow. Artistic. See you tomorrow, sometimes as usual as well. Good night, Miles and CMF. Mike, see you tomorrow, sometimes as usual as well. As always, great information. Thanks, bro. Thanks for the Miles. Good night, Comatose. See you tomorrow, sometimes as usual as well, brother. Night, Miles and CMF. Pablo, see you tomorrow, sometimes as usual as well. Totally agree with you about BTC. The Maxis are still telling newbies to buy BTC at this high amount, which is crazy, to be fairly honest. Honestly. Carol, see you tomorrow sometimes as usual as well. Great show, Miles. Let's go, Mickey. Mickey, see you tomorrow sometimes as usual as well. Great show, Miles. Thanks. Good night, everyone. Bull XRP, see you tomorrow sometimes as usual. Awesome. Like, share, and comment. Take care all. Yes, if you haven't already, like, comment, share, retweet, like on YouTube, like on X, comment, and essentially retweet as well, CMF members. Gratitude to you giving us your time. Monica, let's go. See you tomorrow sometimes as usual. Thanks, Miles. Have a good night, everyone. See you tomorrow. Orphan, see you tomorrow, same time as usual. Thanks, Legend. Let's get to the BTC Maxis. Hold tight, peeps. Night and day CMF. Shelly, let's go. See you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Have a good night, Miles and CMF. Great live. Thank you, Carol. See you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Thank you for essentially for 248 episodes and more, Miles. Have a wonderful night and night all. Lena, let's go. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Once again, Miles, to the knowledge as always app. Thank you and good night. Sempro, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Good night, Miles. FleXRP, good night, brother. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Night all. Susie, let's go. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Good night, brother Miles, for another wonderful evening, Funky brother. Let's go. See you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Good night, Miles and family. Great live. Many thanks. See you tomorrow. Ian, see you tomorrow, same time as usual. Thanks again, Miles. Have a great night, CMF. Go Spawner, see you tomorrow, same time as usual. And good night, Miles, and God bless Cali. Cali, see you tomorrow, same time as usual. I will be seeing everybody tomorrow, same timing as usual. If you haven't already, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow, and tune in tomorrow, same time as usual. This live starts at 11:25 p.m. UK time onwards, Monday to Friday, so you can tune in for episode 249 tomorrow. So I'll be seeing everybody tomorrow, same time as usual, 11:25 p.m. UK time onwards, UK time. I'll see everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world. I'll see everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. CMF, have a great day or a good night, depending on where you're around the world. Good night, Miles, and thanks again. Sam Shelley, see you tomorrow, same time as usual. See everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. 11:25 p.m. UK time.